Most people think power looks loud. They think power is always speaking, always proving, always defending, always responding, always showing people they can't be disrespected. But that's not power. A lot of the time, that's just reactivity dressed up as strength. Because if every comment can move you, every delay can frustrate you, every opinion can shake you, every provocation can pull you out of character, then you are not in control. They are. And the truth is brutal. The person who controls your reactions controls a piece of your life. That is why some people stay stuck for years. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack potential, but because they are too easy to disturb.
In this video, I'm going to show you why reactivity is one of the biggest forms of weakness, why emotional control is one of the highest forms of self-respect, and how Stoic discipline helps you become harder to provoke, harder to shake, and harder to control. Because the moment everything stops getting access to your emotions, everything changes. Your peace changes, your decisions change, your standards change, your future changes. Because a reactive person lives at the mercy of the world. A disciplined person lives from the inside out. People think reacting is harmless. It isn't. Every unnecessary reaction costs you something. It costs clarity. It costs focus. It costs energy. It costs presence. It costs discipline. It costs self-respect. Every time you let someone bait you into anger, you pay. Every time you let a message ruin your whole day, you pay. Every time you let one moment of disrespect knock you out of your center, you pay. And the dangerous part is that most people do not even realize how expensive their reactions are. They think they're just being real. They think they're just standing up for themselves. They think they're just expressing how they feel. But if expressing how you feel keeps making your life weaker, less focused, more chaotic, and easier to control, then maybe that isn't honesty. Maybe that's lack of mastery. Because here's the truth. Your life is not only shaped by what happens to you, it is shaped by what you keep giving emotional permission to. And if everything gets a reaction from you, then everything has access to your inner world. That is dangerous. A reactive person looks powerful for a second, but in reality, they are easy to move, easy to trigger, easy to bait, easy to manipulate, easy to exhaust. Why? Because the outside world has a remote control to their nervous system. Somebody says the wrong thing, they spiral. Something doesn't go their way, they collapse. Someone ignores them, they obsess. Someone challenges them, they over-explain. Someone doubts them, they start performing. That is not freedom. That is dependency. The most controlled people in the world are often the ones who think they are just being passionate. But passion without discipline becomes self-sabotage. And Stoic self-mastery begins with a hard question. Why does this have so much power over me? That question changes everything. Because once you start asking it, you stop pretending your reactivity is just personality, and you start seeing it for what it is, a leak in your inner structure. One of the most powerful lessons you can learn is this. Not everything deserves a response. Not every opinion. Not every insult. Not every misunderstanding. Not every inconvenience. Not every delay. Not every person who wants your emotional labor. Most people are exhausted because they keep giving full responses to low-value things. They give a paragraph to what deserved silence. They give anger to what deserved indifference. They give explanation to what deserved distance. They give emotion to what deserved no entry at all. And then they wonder why they feel drained. Because they keep paying premium emotional energy to cheap situations. That's why calm people often look more powerful. Not because they feel nothing, but because they know what not to feed. They know that attention is fuel, emotion is fuel, response is fuel. And if you keep fueling what weakens you, do not be surprised when it keeps growing in your life. Starve what is small. Starve what is petty.
Starve what is beneath your standards. Because every time you refuse to react, you teach your mind a new hierarchy. Not everything gets access to me.
A lot of people think self-respect is how you talk. It's not. It's how you govern yourself. It's what you let into your mind. It's what you keep entertaining. It's what you keep replaying. It's what you keep responding to long after it should have been released. If your peace can be broken by every random opinion, then your peace has no protection. If your standards collapse every time you feel hurt, then your discipline is still emotional, not structural. Self-respect means your inner life is no longer public property. It means not everybody gets access. Not every event gets to define your day. Not every trigger gets to become your identity for the next 6 hours. That's the real flex. The real flex is not showing people how angry you can get. It's showing life how steady you can remain. Because anyone can lose control. Anyone can lash out. Anyone can send the long text. Anyone can argue in circles. Anyone can let one wound become the center of the whole day.
But can you remain governed? That is where self-respect starts becoming visible.
Here's where the deeper shift happens. Most people think they are reacting to events. They are not. They are reacting to their interpretation of events. The event happens, then the meaning gets attached. Then the emotion rises. Then the reaction follows. Somebody ignores you. One mind says, they hate me. I'm being disrespected. Another mind says, they may be distracted. Either way, I stay centered. Same event, different inner world. That is why Stoic discipline is so powerful. It teaches you to interrupt the automatic meaning, to pause, to examine, to question the story forming in your mind. Because the moment you stop believing every first emotional interpretation, you become harder to disturb. And that is a superpower in modern life. Not because life gets easier, but because your mind stops making everything heavier than it needs to be. A lot of people are not suffering only from what happened. They are suffering from what their mind immediately decided it meant. That's why they stay stuck, because they keep confusing first interpretation with truth. This is where people get it wrong. They think calm means passive. They think restraint means fear. They think not reacting means you're soft. No, calm is expensive. Calm requires awareness. Calm requires discipline. Calm requires strength. Calm requires that your emotions do not run the throne inside you. Weak people react to prove they are not weak. Strong people do not have to perform their power every 5 minutes. They don't need every argument. They don't need every correction. They don't need every final word. They don't need every person to understand them immediately. Because they know something reactive people don't. The more stable you are, the less you need to prove. And the less you need to prove, the more powerful you become. That is why composure intimidates people, because composure cannot be easily controlled. Composure does not beg. It does not chase. It does not break itself trying to be heard. It simply remains. And in a world addicted to reaction, remaining centered is rare. Rare becomes powerful. Let's make this practical. What is reactivity actually costing you right now? It's costing you momentum, because every time you get emotionally thrown off, you lose hours, sometimes days. It's costing you peace, because your mind keeps replaying things that should have ended in one moment. It's costing you discipline, because when you're emotionally hijacked, standards become easier to drop. It's costing you relationships, because reactive people create instability around them. It's costing you self-trust, because deep down you know that too many things still control you, and that awareness creates quiet shame. You say you want peace, but your system is addicted to emotional spikes. You say you want control, but your mood still depends on too many external things. You say you want a stronger life, but too much of your energy is still being spent reacting instead of building. That is the hidden tax. Reactivity steals builder energy. And if you want a serious life, you need more builder energy than emotional waste.
So how do you change this? First, slow the gap between trigger and response. That gap is where power returns. A pause before the text, a breath before the reply, a moment before the assumption, a delay before the emotional commitment. Second, ask, what story am I telling myself right now? Because the story is usually where the spiral begins. Third, stop treating every emotional impulse like a command. Just because you feel it does not mean you must obey it. You can feel anger without acting from anger. Feel hurt without making hurt your identity. Feel tension without surrendering your whole day to it. Fourth, decide what no longer gets access. Some things keep triggering you because you keep keeping them close. The person, the app, the conversation, the environment, the pattern. And fifth, practice stillness on purpose. Because a still mind is not built in chaos. It is trained in silence, trained in restraint, trained in not feeding every urge to react.
That's how your inner structure gets stronger. At some point, you have to make this a personal standard, not just an idea, not just a quote, not just something you agree with when you feel calm. A standard, a line, a code, something like, I do not let small things steal big energy. I do not let random opinions rearrange my inner world. I do not give immediate access to everything that provokes me. I do not collapse my standards because of one emotional wave. I do not let what is outside me become stronger than what is within me. That is a powerful way to live, because now life does not keep pulling you in every direction. Now there is structure. Now there is order. Now there is a governed self. And a governed self is very hard to control.
So remember this. Every reaction is a decision. Every reaction gives something access. Every reaction teaches your mind what gets power over you. So choose carefully, because the less you react to what is small, the more power you keep for what is real. If this hits something real in you, like, share, comment, and subscribe. And in the comments, write this: my peace is no longer easy to disturb.